Hey there, all you cool rats and rittens. It's Primal Sabbath. You know me from Stasis Lock. This is on the Stasis Lock channel, so, I mean, kind of obviously, right? But we're going to be taking a look at the transform element, Mice Warriors. I don't know why they called it Mice Warriors, plural, but it is indeed Warriors with a plural. So maybe they intended this to be like a troop builder of some sort. I'm not entirely sure why. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. But we know him as Rattrap, obviously. This is a legend scale figure, similar to their Black Arachnia, which I do not have, so don't expect any of those comparisons. But we've taken a look at him plenty of times on Stasis Lock's channel, so there's that. Now, this is the figure. It comes with this accessory, which is 2 accessories, so you can split that. It does not twist, so don't try to twist it. It may be hard to tell, but it's a very particular shape that goes into a equally particular slot, so you can form his actual show accurate blaster. And the paint on this is super dog hair. The paint on this is super detailed for such a small figure. There's a little hole here, and I'm not quite sure what that goes to just yet. Maybe it's for storage. We'll see. You know, figure it out. But, so yeah, you get a lot of this nice kind of like copper, almost gold, all throughout. It's a little spotty. It's not 100% perfect. As you can see, some of it's thinner in some areas, some of it's thicker. But this is a very small weapon. Just to give you an example, this is a CR2025 battery for like, if you have a key fob for your vehicle. It's kind of like a standard size for that. So yeah, very small weapon, probably easily lost. And this is the figure itself, and again, just a weird comparison, but you know, there's the battery. So he comes packaged in robot mode. If you want to check out the transformation, I do plan on doing that at the end of the video, so fret not, but I do like starting in beast mode. So this is the beast mode. Like anything with a beast mode, it's going to have panel lines. I'm not too particularly beat up about that. I thought the bottom jaw opened, but apparently it doesn't, and I tried getting in there, but no bottom jaw opening, which is kind of a bummer, but, I mean, it's so small, like, what were they gonna do, right? But you get a nice kind of, like, I don't know if I would call this a wash, or more or less like an airbrush effect, for, like, the kind of dirty brown of the fur on his back, which we see a lot, you know, for, like, the original Rattrap. There he is, and, like, just to sort of compare the two, there they are. I mean, he is significantly smaller, even than the original, both in length and girth. So there's that. This is the Takara version, for what it's worth. And let's go ahead and get him in here with the Generations. This is also the Takara version. You'll see a pattern here. But yeah, so he's a tiny fella. He's a very tiny fella. So there is all of that. And word on the street is this was designed from the same person that designed the Transfamer Dinosaur, the third-party Dinobot. And so here he is with that Dinobot, and here's that Dinobot with him, I guess. Let me get him to stand properly. There we go. So man, I don't know. This might actually be an accurate scaling, I think. It's kind of tough to tell. I think robot mode is a little further off, but we'll get to that comparison when we get to it. But yeah, so there's that. I would really like it if, maybe if not the same designer, but Transform Element in general, would take another stab at this Dinobot. This kind of broke. I mean, it's from a company that doesn't really have a whole lot of like backing or anything like that. I don't know if that tongue moved or not. Anyways, so yeah, like I really do wish that somebody would take another swing at that. Even if it's like in this scale, like maybe he would need to be a little bit smaller, but I do want one that's show accurate and not necessarily Takara toy accurate, which this kind of isn't even anyways. So yeah. He doesn't get a whole lot of movement in this mode. The tail is a hard plastic, so be mindful of that. You're not going to get any bending or anything like that out of it. His head cannot move down, similar to the Generations one, where you can kind of get him sitting on his hind legs like he did a lot in the show. So you're not going to get that. You're just going to get this very static mouse. and I think it would be good for playing pranks on people. So there's that. Just be prepared for them to swat it or step on it or what have you. But overall, like, he does peg together super nicely, I think. It's, again, not all of it is perfectly aligned and lined up, but I think it's okay, especially for this mode and for such a small figure. So I think this guy really shines in robot mode. So off camera, I'm going to get him to robot mode, and then we'll talk about that, and then we will do the comparisons, and then I'll do the transformation. Alright, so here we have Transform Element Rattrap in his robot mode. Now, first I'm going to focus on the things that I really like about this, and there's some things you got to do when you get yours out of package, because he does come packaged in robot mode, and I know there were a lot of people who had some trouble, maybe not a lot of people, a few people had some trouble at least, getting this torso section to kind of stay together. And it's a very peculiar way, and unfortunately it just doesn't come packaged in the way that it needs to for you to do that. So first thing I want to talk about is definitely the deco, the paint apps. He definitely matches, I think, the Hasbro Generations Rattrap the most as far as the look goes, but he's very show accurate. I think they chose a very show accurate, like, kind of orangish bronze color for the robot bits, and I mean the gray is spot on too, in my opinion. And the silver paint apps are also done very well, similar to the weapon that we took a look at. But look at, I mean, the tiny details on his face here is just incredible. From the little teeth, I think there's some red there on the mouth as well. And I could just be, I don't know, it definitely looks like there's some red there. You get the red in the eyes, you get this kind of bronze here on the side of the head, and it wraps all the way around. You can see there's a little ball peg back there. We'll talk about it. And the silver for the brains, which I always thought was an interesting choice for Rattrap. So anyways, yeah, this chest, this torso, I guess, some folks were having some problems with it staying pegged together. And it's not a super secure connection, but it is there. Like, it can be easy for it to lift up on like that. But it's not a very deep peg and peg hole to begin with. But once you got it kind of clipped in there, it's in there. It's all about how you kind of have this hinge assembly orientated here in his back. If you see it as it is, like, this is the way to do it. I believe he kind of comes packaged more with this whole hinge assembly up, like so. To where it kind of gives him a taller look, and it makes the head sit a little further over the chest piece like that. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But yeah, so it makes you kind of want to try to force this in here like this. That is not the way. The way is definitely to take this. If you got to pull that down to get it out of the way, you'll take that whole hinge assembly right there, and you will move it down in that in this sort of, I guess, capacity. So there's that, and then kind of bring that back up and make sure the hinge stays where it is, because, like, it'll come up like that. That's wrong. I mean, it still locks in this way, and it is a tight lock there as well. And I mean, this is definitely adequate if you want it to do like that. But again, I think it unpegs easier that way. So again, take this, move this down, try to get everything how it needs to be. There we go. Get that head forward. Get that situated. There we go. And then again, you just kind of gotta play around with it. Feel for it. You know, you're definitely gonna feel it. But and that's it. And that'll put his head kind of even there with his shoulders where they're supposed to be, at least in my opinion, of Rattrap's anatomy. I mean, essentially, like, you do you. However it looks to you, but that is what I have found to be the best way. So there's that. There's a lot of small hinges and moving pieces on this little guy, and just make sure you give it a good squeeze and that it's all tightened up. So you see that he has some of that bronze paint on this kind of inside, this interior piece here surrounding the rat head. I think that looks nice. And he's also got a little bit here on the crotch piece. This looks to be a little bit sloppy. It's a little too thin maybe of a layer, but again, you're going to get it there. I mean, for such a small figure. He's got some nice paint on the side of his thighs here. Again, some of that, it's not quite red. but it's not quite pink. It's a lightish red. And then the silver on the feet. He's got ankle rockers, which are awesome. He doesn't have any heels, so he can suffer from the original Rattrap syndrome. The original Rattrap syndrome is he can fall backwards. However, since he has rockers and he has actual ankle hinges, you can kind of shift some of that weight where it needs to be, because he does have a little bit of a backpack on him. So there's that. And I wish there was a way that this backpack kind of locked in. It can be a little bit fiddly, but it does the job well enough, in my opinion. So there is that. So, all right, let's do some comparisons. So here we have the original, and again, you can see he's definitely smaller than the original, but looks really, really good. And then you've got the Generations one here. This is the Takara one. May just have to set him back here. And then there is the Transfamer Dinosaur. So, as you can see, I think Dinosaur is just a little bit too tall for this scale, and I really do hope Transform Element decides to give that one another go. Now, he does come with a weapon that we looked at earlier. Now, man, I can't really get this thing to work, and this is not my figure, so I'm not going to get in here with a drill bit, but I think if you get in with a drill bit, you could probably wring these handholds out. But like on this left hand, he won't even hold it. Like it just won't work. His right hand will, however. It can kind of peg in ever so slightly. If this was mine, I would, there's a few things I would do. I would glue the gun as it is, and I would just completely cut this peg off, and then I would ream the hands out with a drill bit, just so he can hold that weapon easier. It's a bummer, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. That's up to you if you're not comfortable hand cranking a drill bit, and it could just be this copy. Entirely possible that it's this copy. So there is that. That is a bummer. Somebody asked me if he could hold the original gun, and I think, yeah, the peg's just a little too big on the original gun, so he cannot hold that. So, all right, let me get him situated here. Again, it's a little finicky here, but you know it'll hold. It will hold. So there is that. But yeah, all right. Just one kind of final look at him in robot mode. Again, I had it perfect whenever I started the robot mode thing, and it just never wants to stay right. But I don't know, it pegs in with relative ease, so there's no issue there. Again, it's just however you want to orient that hinge in the back, and it will be just fine. So there we go. All right, now real quick before we move on, I did kind of get something wrong as far as getting this whole thing situated to where this piece locks in. You can see I'm kind of giving it a pull. So what you need to do is you need to have it to where this backpack sits parallel with the body. If you have it to where it's like too far forward in this way, this is going to kind of like suffer some. So again, have it to where the hinge is just barely sort of angled downward. I don't know if you guys can get in there and see that very well or not, but where it's just angled downward. I had it like this, where it was a little too far in and it just wasn't doing it. So again, if it goes a little too far in that way, just bring it up and out a little bit, and then you should be able to peg it in this way. And again, since none of that stuff up there locks, it can be a little bit of a pain. But yeah, so once you have it like that, and once you get it slotted in, it's going to hold a lot better, despite like me just unpegging it right there. But it's definitely going to be a lot more secure in how it holds. So again, it's got to be positioned parallel with the body, and not like angled in or angled out. So I mean, you see the head still sits roughly. It's a little bit of like ahead of the shoulders, but so there is that. Again, it'll work pushed all the way in like that. It's just not quite as secure, and I mean the connection in general just isn't a super secure connection either. Maybe that's something that they could have improved upon, but it really isn't that big of a deal. Not as big of a deal as I would say like maybe some heel spurs would be. But you know, all you got to do is just play with them just ever so slightly, and And he stands. So again, there is that. Just a real quick addendum before we move on to transformation. I wanted to go ahead and clear that up. We're going to do the transformation for this guy because this is how he comes packaged, and transform element stuff does not come with instructions, which I think is really fun, actually. It kind of lets you sort of figure it out on your own, and I think that's a really neat idea. So there is no right way to skin this rat, so to speak, which I think is, again, I think it's pretty cool. It lets you kind of play around with it and learn it for yourself, and I do like that. But for anyone who may be having some trouble, I got you. So let's go ahead and get it started. And oh man, where to begin? So we're gonna unpeg this, and just because this is all easy, we're just gonna kind of pull this chest section up and get this down here pulled down. You'll swivel this. It's on a mushroom peg. So far, that mushroom peg has not popped out, so that's some good news. And then this piece in here is on its own little hinge, but we'll get to it. From there, we're going to rotate these thighs around 180 degrees, and then you're going to come up here to the ankles. Make sure they're, about as straight as you can get it from the eye, and then fold the feet all the way around. From there, you're going to pop open this piece. You're going to take the head and you're going to rotate it around and fold it back in on that ball stem, and then push this whole assembly up and around, and then that will let you close the rat head back around it. Take this piece, and it is going to, it's on like a little hinge here, it's going to flip around like that. Interestingly enough, like the entire backside of this is painted bronze when all they really needed were just the sides of it. But, hey, paint's paint. Get these kind of stretched out of the way. And then, let's see, take this piece, rotate it around, which that's a very interesting take on that. I mean, they could have just done like a hinge thing, but I think making this like a swivel, a lift and swivel, I think that's pretty neat. And just kind of leave this here for right now. And then here, you're going to tuck the legs in. You're going to bend them at the knee. You're just going to kind of make sure they fit under this hinge assembly. And you're going to have to play with these side hinges for them to fit. But, let's see, come on now. And you can push that down if need be. It's eventually going to have to push down because it's going to keep these pieces aligned where they need to be. And then, again, just sort of push all this in and down and play with these ankles if you got to. But ultimately, it's going to hug the inside of the cavity, just like that. And, these are going to close in and over it, and that's all well and good and fine. That's kind of how they have to be. You sort of have to manipulate all of it at once, but you can move some of this stuff around just to sort of keep it out of the way for the most part. But there you go for that. And then these arms are going to come in very similar to the Generations Rattrap. You're going to kind of rotate them up to where these inside pieces, these, like, I guess little humps or whatever, are pointed towards the inside of the rat, and then rotate these elbows around, and that's where things are going to get a little, there we go, fold them down. Again, very similar to the Generations Rattrap. And just sort of get them out of the way. And then this is where things get tricky. There we go. So that's all going to go in like you see. Again, try to keep this out of the way if you can. And then you're going to push these arms in. They're going to just come right on into here. And I wish there was like a more delicate way to explain it, but it's definitely easier shown. That's where you can kind of begin to just push these in and up. Again, you'll push them in, and if they're like that, just push them in, push them up. Like it's a lot more easier when, like, if you have it in hand, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Push it in, push it up. So there's that, and then this is going to hug up against them, and again, just get it nice and tight. And here you'll see the same clip for the waist piece in robot mode. There's a little notch in there on the tail, and that is going to kind of hold it all together right in there. So there's that. I mean, that's it mostly, for the most part. Again, you're going to have some of that breakup. Play around with it. You know, the hinges in this assembly will do whatever they need to do, and there you go. That's it. That's him in beast mode. So pretty easy, but it's definitely a little like weird at first, because like at first, whenever I was messing with it, I was trying to get the arms in, and then I was trying to get the legs over the arms. But again, very similar to the Generations Rattrap, where these arm pieces are going to be on top of the legs for the transformation. So, and this gun, I don't know, it doesn't really stick in there, unfortunately, which kind of sucks, but I got it to kind of hold just with pressure. So, you know, your mileage may vary, but it doesn't really peg in. It'll kind of stay as long as you don't shake the crap out of it. But I think this guy shines in robot mode more than he does in beast mode. So there's that. Now, on our Facebook page, we posted an unboxing. We got these from Agabyss, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So shout out to Agabyss for some great customer service. And if you're impatient, like I am, then you can go in the link below and order one from Agabyss. As of this recording, they're out of stock, but they are getting more stock inbound. And in my opinion, he's well worth the $40, United States dollars, that is. So go check that out. However, if you're a little patient and you want to hold out and see if you're going to be one of the lucky ones to win this guy, then what you can do is subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and just leave us a comment on your favorite Rattrap moment. That's it. Whatever your favorite Rattrap moment is, leave it in the comments for us to see, and subscribe to the channel if you are not. And it's just that easy. So anyways, that's it for the review of Transform Elements Rattrap. It's a sweet little figure. It's got nice detail. The engineering is fun. This makes me very hopeful for something at a masterpiece scale, for sure, seeing how they get it at this small of a scale. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Stasis Lock, the greatest Beast Wars podcast on the face of the planet. Till then, see you later.